Live from the Ram Cave, I'm Joe Terosian, and this is RamView, the August 17th, 2022 edition, brought to you by Temple City Auto Repair. Temple City Auto, if you got a car issue, go get yourself some John and Henry at Temple City Auto. You can look them up at templecityauto.com. I'm thrilled when I get to mention a sponsor. That is awesome, isn't it? Yeah, big news, a lot of stuff happening in the NFL today. Of course, it's always big news as you get through August and press towards September. I got my Eric Dickerson shirt on today, boiling and dealing. Some quick news. The Rams signed defensive end TJ Carter, and they've already got a TJ Carter on the roster. But this TJ Carter is a defensive end who was with the Saints, got released. He's just an undrafted free agent making his rounds around the NFL. The Rams signed him, and to make room for him, they released wide receiver Warren Jackson, who was built in the mode or in the same frame kind of as Allen Robinson Jr., as Lance McCutcheon. And that was I think the theory when the Rams brought him in, but definitely he's been hurt, and also he's not as talented as the other guys. So to make room for the new TJ Carter, the Rams released Warren Jackson. And it doesn't come as a surprise. I thought he would be part of the first five that got let go. So it's only a day later than we thought. The Rams now have two players, of course, named TJ Carter on the roster. Both play defense. TJ Carter, the safety, was already on the roster. He's out of TCU. He's an undrafted free agent, and he's currently wearing number 20. This recently signed TJ Carter is out of Kentucky and is a defensive end. And he's yet to be assigned a number. But there's an interesting link there, although I don't know if he was there. Liam Cohen, the Rams offensive coordinator, went to Kentucky as the OC. But, of course, Carter's a defensive player, and I think Cohen was just there was he there for 2 years or 1 year? He was just there for 2 years, 1 year, and Carter left Kentucky after 2019. But interesting. Whenever you see those things, you put those links together. So, also around the NFL, Derwin James got his monster contract from the Chargers. A couple weeks ago, I mentioned should the Chargers pay him, and they believe they should. And I have no problem with Derwin James. As a player, he's excellent, but he's missed half his career after playing all of 2018. I think he played 5 games in 2019, missed all of 2020, and then he played last year. And he's got 76 rocks coming his way. 42 are guaranteed with the new contract, and only 42 being guaranteed isn't too bad. He'll make an average of 19 a year. That to me is just too much for a safety. Right? The Rams pay $8 million for their safeties, and they got one of these. Well, I'm sure they all got wedding rings, but you know what I mean. They got rings, and so to me, this tightens the Chargers' window, which might have been a little more open. I'd have had him spend this contract, gotten the best years out of him because he's going to be motivated to play, and let him move on. I do agree. You shouldn't pay safeties that much. Corners, yeah. Edge rushers, absolutely. Quarterbacks, yep. Top end wide receiver, for sure. Left tackle, yep. But safeties, linebackers, centers, yeah, I don't know. I don't know. And what do you think? You're a Charger fan out there. Let me know what you think. 19.1 a year for a safety. That means between Mike Williams and their two receivers right now. He's what's his name? Keenan. They're escaping my name, my memory here. They've got in 3 players right there, 2 receivers and a safety. They've got something like $60 million tied up, and that means they want to win now, which is good. But I don't know if I'd done it, but we'll see. We'll see how it works out for the Chargers. Curious to know what you think. The Ravens have a deadline from Lamar Jackson that after the 1st of September, they're not going to be talking contract anymore from him and his mom. But in the other thing that happened in the Baltimore Ravens quarterback room is UCLA quarterback Brett Hundley was released. Now, Hundley had that nice little tenure with the Packers, started several games when Aaron Rodgers went out with a broken collarbone, and it just never really came together. Hundley is a career backup, and given was it Tyler Huntley that's there, he wasn't going to play much at all. So Hundley gets moved or released, and hopefully he can find another job. Speaking of quarterbacks, If the Cleveland Browns lose any more offensive linemen, they recently lost their center for the year, Deshaun Watson might want to consider appealing his 6-game suspension and asking for a whole year off, because I don't know if he's going to want to play behind the line that's going to lose. I think they've lost 2 starters now, and that one could get a little dicey there if you don't have anyone blocking for you. Patriots and Panthers got into a fight today. You know, that bad blood from Super Bowl 38 still spilling over. And then I caught Hard Knocks last night with the Detroit Lions. I like Hard Knocks. I really do. But I like it, all of it. And they don't do it the same anymore. Because have you noticed that they haven't really focused on any marginal players? The closest you got is Malcolm Rodriguez, who's a 6th-round pick. And by all indications, if he doesn't make the team, he's going to be on the practice squad. Like they're talking right now, he could be a starter. And so who's going to get cut that you're connected with, right? And they're not going to show anybody getting cut. And therefore, this show shouldn't be called Hard Knocks. I'm sorry. It's Soft Knocks. You know, that's the deal. You're going to get cut, all right? And you need to get on with your life. And people need to see that. You know, they really do a disservice to these young athletes that watch shows like Hard Knocks, is they need to understand the cruelty of professional sport, right? They need to understand the cruelty of professional sport, and they're not showing it out of some fake and false sense of what they think is decency. And I disagree. I do disagree. All right. So again, I'm Joe Terosian. You can follow me on Twitter at JoeT13B. Right here on YouTube, you can subscribe. We're also on iHeart and Spotify, and you can catch our podcasts on there. And it would be really great if you hit a like and subscribe on our podcast, because while we've made some inroads here, we have not made inroads in the podcast world, and I'd like that. I wish we could. But again, thank you for your support here. You can catch me at joeterosian.com. I posted a column today from the Ram Cave, made an argument why Isiah Robertson should be in the Hall of Fame, and we're going to talk about some of that column right here, right now. And so you can catch us at joeterosian.com. I'm a writer. I've written several books. You can catch them on Amazon.com by typing in my name. And also, I pastor a small church in Burbank to give you a sense of my worldview. I spent 21 years also as a sports writer and for Mid-Valley Sports. And there, I think that's all there is to know about me. Okay, good. So now we're about 7.5 minutes in, lathered in sweat. And this is for Sean McVay and Liam Cohen. And I'm going to allow you all to listen in. And I know you're going to do you think you know more than McVay. He's a Super Bowl coach. And you're going to hear all those comments. And spare me the comments, right? And here's the thing I love about this is that, you get online and you make a comment, you say something, and someone says, well, like, you know more than McVay. Well, I know I'm not going to pass 67 times against the Buccaneers in 2019. I'm not going to abandon the run. I'm not going to make Andrew Whitworth, Father Time, bounce back 67 times in pass protection. And basically, McVay admitted that was wrong, but any kind of football fan could tell that he had lost his bearings there as Todd Gurley went down by abandoning the run. Now, of course, he's Sean McVay, and he's going to respond better and win better, but it doesn't mean as a fan you should stop thinking. We can and should ask questions about our politics and our religion. And we can and should ask questions about our football team, give our opinions. Because if you're not asking questions, you're conforming. And conformity in thought means no thought is given to anything else, and you just take what's said. Really, are you going to expect a Philadelphia Philly fan not to speak up about his team, a Cowboy fan not to speak up about their team? You have a right to speak up, and you have a right to tell and share. Because one thing I learned, even though I'm a 21-year sports writer, I'm a 33-year pastor, you know what? I found out I don't know everything, and sometimes just hearing some thoughts from other people really help. So here's my note to Sean McVay and first-year OC Liam Cohen, all right? Cam Akers shouldn't get more than 20 touches a game the first 12 weeks of the season, provides he plays the first 12 weeks of the season. And you can break it down any way you like, Sean. 15 carries, 5 receptions, 17 carries, 3 receptions. It's your and Liam's call, right? Darrell Henderson should get no more than 10 per game. It could be 8-2, 7-3, and Kyron Williams should be picking up the slack here and there, all right? That gives the Rams at minimum, setting them up for 30 carries a game, and it should be just fine, keeping a balance in the offense. And the reason I say this is, as mentioned previously, is Williams busted his foot in OTAs, and they're bringing him along slowly. Cam Akers and Darrell Henderson both have soft tissue injuries. But here's the funny thing. Rams don't play their starters or key rotational players in preseason. So Akers, Henderson, and Williams are out, and none of them were injured in gameplay. That is fragile, right? And it's one thing if it happens once in a blue moon, but with Akers and Henderson, this is pretty ongoing stuff. Remember, Akers tore his Achilles last year in camp. I think it was in OTAs. And so gameplay, they're not playing in games, but they're still getting hurt. Sean, Liam, mi amigos, spread out the touches. And when you reach the back stretch of the season, the last 6 games or so, go with the ball carrier who is hot. Because the truth is the days of Eric Dickerson, Wendell Tyler, Lawrence McCutcheon, Marshall Faulk, and Steven Jackson are over. We don't have a deep, abiding love for all of our running backs anymore. We understand that our running backs are disposable. That's an awful thing to say, but it's so true. It's the nature of the game. Now, if Akers, Henderson, Williams run for 10,000 yards or are just outstanding and they want to hold out for more money, I fully support them. But that's just not good business anymore to invest in your running backs. Also, to have just one feature back. Spread out the touches. Don't overburden these guys. Trust me, Sean, and Liam, I'm only trying to save you from the temptation of putting the ball in the air 67 times in a single game, okay? The running back depth chart looks like this. Cam Akers, Darrell Henderson, Kyron Williams, and Jake Funk. Keep those guys. Rams need 4 running backs, okay? Cut these guys and hope they land on the practice squad. A.J. Rose, Raymond Calais, Trey Regis, and Xavier Jones, who was brought back even though he's hurt, he's not playing. Doesn't look good for him. A.J. Rose is kind of nice, but there's going to be some painful cuts, and I think it's going to be him. Jake Funk can run the ball. Jake Funk can play on special teams. Jake Funk can also return kickoffs and pinch, all right? We've seen those things, and I think they make him a little more versatile at this point than A.J. Rose. And again, due to fragility, the Rams need to keep 4 backs. But that means a wide receiver or 2 that the fans like will have to move on. You in love with Lance McCutcheon? Don't fall too much in love with him. You're in love with some of these guys? Expect somebody to be moved. Because McVay has always kept 3 tight ends, and last year he kept 3 quarterbacks. Now, Wolford is going to be starting this week's game coming up, which I thought was kind of interesting, but he's starting the first half against Houston, and Bryce Perkins is starting the second half. But there's not enough space because of that setup to keep all the receivers. There are going to be cuts, and there are going to be trades, possibly trades, that you just need to get prepped and ready for as Ram fans. Okay, so that brings us up to the moment. Today we remember Isiah Robertson, who was born on this day in 1949. Now, Robertson died in a car accident in Texas in December of 2018, and he'd have been 73 today. And the interesting background in Isiah Robertson, who almost unanimously all Ram fans remember and love, is the Rams used a first-round pick that they got from the Washington Redskins in exchange for all those Ramskins. Remember that big Ramskins trade? Jack Pardee, Dyron Talbot, Marion Patios, Maxie Bond, and some others went to the Redskins for a first-round pick, and I think a fourth-round pick. I think that one became Dave Elmendorf. Well, with that first-round pick, number 10 overall in 1971, the Rams took Isiah Robertson out of Southern University, and he was teammates with Mel Blount there, as well as some others that played at Southern, classic HBCU school. Nicknamed Butch Robertson, he started 12 of 14 games in his rookie season, and he started every game from 1972 through 1977 for the Rams. Multiple Pro Bowls, an All-Pro recognition. In 78, he fell out of favor with Ray Malavasi and started 6 games before losing his job to Bob Brzezinski. In 79, he was traded to the Buffalo Bills and reunited with Chuck Knox. And in 4 seasons, and I think this was really lost because until I dove deep into it, I didn't realize this. Robertson, from 79 through 82, even the strike-shortened season of 82, which was 9 games, Robertson started every game in Buffalo. and he retired following that 1982 campaign. So in 12 NFL seasons, he appeared in 6 Pro Bowls, was named All-Pro 4 times, and is widely considered one of the best linebackers of the decade in the 1970s. He played right side linebacker for the Rams at 6'3", 225 pounds, and he was clocked at a 4.5 40, right? That is amazing. He played his entire career before the official recognition of the sack as a stat. And in film review, they give Robertson credit for 24 and a half career sacks. But the bulk of his career, he played behind a Rams defensive line that featured Jack Youngblood, Larry Brooks, Merlin Olsen, and Fred Dreyer. The Rams didn't need to blitz. They can get pressure with their front four. Instead, Robertson thrived in coverage by picking off 25 passes in the regular season and returning 3 of them for touchdowns. And this is what he did, except he made big plays. In the 1974 playoffs, a game I was at against the Washington Redskins, he returned an interception 59 yards for a touchdown off the arm of Sonny Jurgensen that was just absolutely electric. I think I talked about it last week. And just to see him, he hurdled over blockers and tacklers and raced to the end zone. It is just an awesome memory I have. I was at the closed in, so he was running away from me at that time, but it sealed the deal in the Rams' 19-10 playoff victory over the Redskins that put them in the NFC title game. And looking at today being his birthday, I began to reconsider why didn't Robertson get any consideration for the Hall of Fame? Okay, now I was around in the 70s and been watching football pretty consistently since 1973. If Robert Brazile, Andre Tippett, Chris Hamburger, and Harry Carson are in Canton, shouldn't Isiah Robertson be in there? He was a game wrecker. You had to game plan for Isiah Robertson. Now, I'm not saying Robert Brazile, Andre Tippett, Chris Hamburger, or Harry Carson are bad players or undeserving, but I'm saying, come on, folks. If you were around and you saw Isiah Robertson play, you would take him over Robert Brazile, Andre Tippett, Chris Hamburger, and Harry Carson. Now, Harry Carson was an inside linebacker, and kind of so was Robert Brazile. But you would take him over all those guys. He was a game wrecker. In fact, I'd even say Robertson is comparable to Pittsburgh Steelers legend Jack Ham. He matches with him in turnovers, sacks, games played, and excelling in coverage, right? Ham also played behind a pretty significant defensive line, right? I think there's this thing called the Steel Curtain, right? L.C. Greenwood, Dwight White, Joe Green, and Ernie Holmes. And while Robertson played alongside Jack Reynolds, who I'd like to see him get some Hall consideration, Jack Ham did play next to a Hall of Famer named Jack Lambert. And so he had a lot of help around him. And so I will make the argument, my friend Rob Sorge, the Pittsburgh Steelers fan who lives in Missouri, she's a big Steeler fan. I'll make the argument that Isiah Robertson is comparable, same level as Jack Ham was for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And Jack Ham's unassailable. You can't talk about Jack Ham, right? Because, he's so great. Great player. But I believe if the Rams advance to the Super Bowl following 1974, 75, and 76 seasons, losing each time in the conference finals, I believe if Chuck Knox hadn't been out-coached in the Mud Bowl in 77, and I believe if the Rams had just been a little more confident in 73, if Steve Priest knocks Drew Pearson down instead of going for the pick in the 73 playoffs, I believe the Rams had potential to go to Super Bowl in 73 and 77 as well. And if they had just gone to the Super Bowl once, maybe picked off one, won a Super Bowl, I believe Isiah Robertson would already be in the Hall of Fame. And the fact that we're having the discussion, just like we did yesterday on Harold Jackson, is a testimony to recency bias. It's tendency to where did you see these players, when did you see these players, and how quickly they're forgotten. And one guy, I believe his name's Eli Thompson. God bless you, sir. Thank you for clicking on. He brought up the fact that, he made mention that, everyone remembers Isiah Robertson in 78 getting trucked by Earl Campbell. And he totally got trucked by Earl Campbell in that 78 highlight. But if you've noticed, and you're a Ram fan and Isiah Robertson fan, that the only highlight you ever see of Isiah Robertson is what? You see him getting trucked by Earl Campbell. And the only reason that means anything is because if you were a football aficionado, you know how great Isiah Robertson was in the 70s and in the time he played. And it was no small deal that a Hall of Famer like Earl Campbell, when he trucked Robertson, it was a big deal. He didn't truck Rick Kay. He didn't truck Ken Geddes. He didn't truck Kevin McLean. He didn't truck George Andrews. He didn't truck Jim Peterson. He didn't truck Maxie Bond. He trucked Isiah Robertson. And that's why it was a big deal, because if Isiah Robertson was nobody would be bringing it up. And maybe as Ram fans, we should spread the highlight of him returning that 59-yard interception return for a touchdown in the 74 playoffs. Anyway, I'm very biased towards Isiah Robertson. Well, that's going to do it. We hit the 20-minute mark, I'm proud to say. I'm Joe Terosian. Thank you for clicking on to RamView. We're going to take a look at the receivers tomorrow and from the Ram Cave. And then hopefully we'll be able to get back on the air and actually get a full weekend of RamView. I'm Joe Terosian. Follow us on iHeart, on Spotify, and click right here on YouTube. Leave your comments. I'm happy to answer. I'm happy to take your criticisms, and we'll go from there. All right, folks. God bless. Talk to you soon. Take care.